Hello and welcome to my reports again. This is a report about the mess the whole world is in today. I'm going to talk about the corrupted name in the Bibles of Elohim. I will show you Yahweh's name has been deleted and they've inserted the Lord, but you can still use the old books to check out what I'm going to give you. I'll show you a world map with all the ancient sons of Noah after the flood and where they are today and what countries they have started. I'll just quickly give you again the king's timeline of Israel, showing that only 6 kings were faithful and loyal to Yahweh God. Now the Illuminati and the Secret Society, but in particular the Illuminati Secret Society, they claim that they've got pure blood directly out of the Nephilim-Anakim of Genesis 6. I'll show you details on that in several charts. With the Tesla scalar electromagnetic secret weapon that NATO's got, I will give you details on that. I will show you that the chemtrails and the HAARP are causing man-made climate change, nothing to do with CO2, no reason why there should be any carbon tax, because carbon dioxide is necessary for the essential plant life and the oceans of this world. Now the US, NATO, they believe because they're governed by the oligarchy, the Illuminati, they believe they have the divine right to rule you and rule the earth. I'm going to show you details that Israel, because of their wickedness and their evil, particularly because they were still sacrificing their sons and daughters to demons right through to about 590 BC. Israel was rejected by Yahweh because of this. The Illuminati, exactly the same as the war machines of Rome, the same thing is being repeated today, and I'll give you details on that. Then I'm going to show you that Yahweh, the Creator God, is choosing and probably has chosen a new group that will retain the name Israel, because the ancient Israel, the old Israel and old Judah has been totally annihilated and rejected by Yahweh God. As you know, in 721 BC, all of the 10 tribes after Solomon were taken over by the Assyrians, and then again later the rest of them were taken into Babylon in 586 BC. So there's a lot more information on this. Come with me and be patient, because I'm going to give you charts so that you can look it all up and do your own research. I'm not a teacher, I'm not a rabbi, I'm not a pastor. I'm just reading the old book and knitting it together, attaching it to the events of the world today. This chart you've already seen before, but there is a Hebrew spelling of Yahweh's name, and I'll let you read it later on. You can go back to this slip, but in essence it's showing you that Yahweh's name was deleted out of the Bibles and was replaced by the word the Lord, which could mean to Jesus. But I've shown you before and again in this news item that that is false doctrine, false teaching. Now, obviously, to confuse the world, the word Elohim, hundreds of times it's used in the text, but if you do your own research on this, you're going to find that that word, it refers to multiple gods. Now, Yahweh, the Creator God, is not a multiple God. Here you've got the map of the world, and you can see all of the progeny out of Noah, and there they are mentioned in the different places of the countries all over the world. On the bottom left-hand corner, there is an index there of the Anakim hybrid bloodline giants, and there's a list of them there. In the index in the middle there, you've got a list of the Anakim hybrid bloodline. Over on the right-hand side, the spirits of the Nephilim-Anakim giants. There's a list of them there. On the right-hand side, you've got the biblical references that bring all that information to you. And that bottom one is telling you about the Nephilim-Anakim giants that are mentioned also in the scriptures. So you can do your own research on that, but there it is for you to see. There it is for you to understand that when we are talking about the places, the countries, the regions on the world, that is who started them. And you'll see in the chart that we're going to show you that certain ones of those, like Gomer, they were the founders of a lot of the giants, the Sibri giants. Now, I've called this chart Ask the Question Why. Point 1. All governments are covertly, without telling the people, converted to corporations without referendums, which in turn are owned by another corporation. And the British Crown, that's the City of London, that's not the Queen of England, which in turn gives them control using the IMF, NATO, UN and New World Order, with all of their elected members giving their assent. Item 2. Why do heads of Monsanto and other mega food and drug-related corporations move in and out of the FDA, approving their own products and changing laws to suit their products, while banksters and the oil oligarchies freely flow in and out of the Federal Treasury Department? Item 3. It took many years for the Germanic Boer, that's Amschel Boer family, to gain acceptance from the Cecil family of England, and eventually they earned the respect of the Cecil family, and the Scion was formed. The blood of both families, including the Goldsmith, came about, such as the line which, by the way, Kate Middleton is descended from, and why she is the wife today of Prince William, who himself is a Medici, Stuart and Guelph. Item 4. The Jesuits have brought back the control of the City of London, that's not the Queen, under the Knights Templar continuum of themselves, being the ancient Aragon continuum of the original order. The takeover of the City of London, which was commanded covertly, still by the Knights of Malta. Item 5. Rothschilds are Sabbatean Frankist Hostins of the Jesuit-controlled papacy. Why would Israel Prime Minister Shimon Peres and his minions give away all of East Jerusalem to the Vatican back in 1993? Now, on this chart called Chart 5, it's about the secret societies and their oath and their joint covenant. I'll just touch on a couple of points for you, because it is about the band of angelic beings that was led by certain fallen angels. In particular, I want you to realize when you read this, through the secret societies, it is now all in the hands of the New World Order, the United Nations, and NATO. Now, in the middle of this document, you'll see in quote 42, this is what the Illuminati say. We will always hide the divine truth from them, that we are all one. All religions are under our control, but this they must never know. Quote from 60, their minds will be bound by the beliefs we have established from time immemorial. That's false religions, corrupted doctrines. But if they ever find out they are our equal, we shall perish then. This they must never know. And I've put in brackets here for you, the Illuminati have 3 degrees. The second degree is for the Freemasons. The third degree is a degree of mystery for priests and rabbis and royalty. And the Illuminati leader is called a king. And that is recorded that Adam Weishaupt was one of the first kings. Now, according to the Hebrew sources, the sons of God were Titans, Nephilim, Hebrew literally meaning fallen ones. And they were called this because they were the sons of the fallen angels. That's in Togum and the Targum Jonathan. Now, this demonic ancestry of the Merovingians explicitly stated in Dagobert's Revenge, you will find more details for this. The Merovingian Franks, that's 450 to 741, they built monasteries as a means of infiltration. These people became they built what has now become the Benedictine Cistercians, and Pope Gregory the Great, he promoted the Benedictine monasticisms. The origins of the monasticisms are also to be found in Egypt, and it gives you more details there. But for instance, the Rothschilds are on that top board of directors. Now, on this chart, I want to give you a little bit of information concerning the scalar electromagnetic weapons. These are secret weapons that NATO and the world military have now got. It's the Defense Secretary William Cohen of 1997 who confirmed this. The SEWs, that's the scalar electromagnetic waves, are used to produce man-made climate change. And there it is, admitted by Secretary William Cohen. The fake false CO2 scientific data that is fed into all the people in the world and saying that it is blamed for climate change or global warming is a lie. But that is being set up to get a carbon tax from all of the countries to fund the one world government. These waves, the SEWs, they can cause earthquakes, they can cause tornadoes and storms, but they can also dry up the weather and cause droughts, and they can cause terrible havoc with tornadoes and cyclones. And that was confirmed by the US Secretary of Defense Russell. SEWs are aimed at their targets by using a worldwide electromagnetic pattern called the woodpecker grid, or they can be placed on a market area that is part of the location. Now, in these scalar weapons, you got two different kinds of varieties of them. But I'll read the last one, item 3. In a third degree, the very terrifying mode, the longitudinal wave patterns, they can be adjusted to affect the human mind. And this fellow that wrote it, Bearden, has dubbed this the mode of Mind Snapper. Its use of scalar waves in the mode is also called psychoenergetics or psychotronics. At low point, the Mind Zapper can cause complete and total control over a human brain. At high power, this part of the scalar weapons can cause instant death. Now, just to show you how they are making climate change or calling it global warming, you've now got 4 pictures coming up on the screen. All of them were taken in 30 minutes, and it'll give you an idea of the HAARP clouds and the chemtrails and how to identify them. Now we're going to get into the Anunnaki, the Nephilim. We're going to talk about what it says in Genesis 6 and many other verses in the Bible. But in particular, there are lots and lots of giants, all the way through to Maximinus or all the way through to the Roman Empire, there are giants. They are hybrid out of the progeny from the Nephilim, the Anakim. And you can see through these charts just how much damage they can do. But mind you, also realise that that so-called pure bloodline out of the Anakim and the Nephilim in Genesis 6, that is what the Illuminati today claim, that they have the pure blood on this earth. Now on this chart, up the top you can see they have the divine right to rule the world. And this is the info on it. It's been hidden for 2,500 years. It's usurped by the Illuminati, the secret societies. 9.1, Nephilim, pre-flood corruption. It says in the book, behold, evil is coming out from nation to nation. That's Jeremiah 25. Our past has proven to be filled with lying, deception, sin, terror, robbery, justice, injustice, cruelty, slavery, and it's been plagued by wars led by tyrannical rulers. According to the old book and other ancient texts, bands of angels, this is fallen angels with divine knowledge, they rebelled against Yahweh God the Creator. Some cohabited with human women, thus corrupting the human genome, and their hybrid progeny believe they have the divine right to rule the world. Many pre-flood were Nephilim. These Nephilim entities, they are carriers of a gene manifesting human giants and their evil doing. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days and also afterwards, when the sons of God, fallen angels, would consort with the daughters of man, who would bear children to them, and you'll get that in Genesis 6:4. Later, there was a lot of other Anakim hybrids, and they sworn an oath together to deceive and terrorize the world. You'll find that in Kiriath Arba's progeny, Numbers 13, 22 to 28 and 33, Seshai, Ahem, and Talmai, they carried this genetic trait. Now, in this chart, it'll give you more details, because in the Qumran, Ugatic, and the Sumer text, the Anu gods were rebel male fallen angels, or sons of God of Genesis 6, 1 to 4. Also in Job 1, 6 to 12, and 2, 1 to 7. The Anu gods are also referred to as sons of the rulers. Now, they descended on the earth, it tells us, on Mount Hermon, or Sion. I'll spell that S-I-O-N, which is in Lebanon, near Bashan. Phoenicia, also, for example, Malta, were collectively, they swore the oath for this deceit and destruction on the earth. Get details from Deuteronomy 4:48, 15:13, 1 Chronicles 5:23, Joshua 11, and Joshua 12. They will lead the world into deception and idolatry. Remember, we're talking about this pure bloodline that the Illuminati claim to be part of. Genesis 6 explains they crossbred angelic genes with the human genome of women, daughters of man. Crossbreeding produced Nephilim entities, hybrid giants with evil propensities. Evidence of the giants have been hidden from history and from the people in the world, mainly hidden by the Jews and by the Christian churches' religions. Now, in chart 3, it tells you in the book, remnant of these crossbreed Anakim, they were left in Gath, Gaza, and Ashdod. You'll get that in Joshua 17, 17 to 18. These giant Rephaim displayed physical deformities. They had often 6 digits on their hands and their feet, and double rows of teeth. huge shin bones, and superhuman strength. The post-flood Rephaim, like the 11-foot Canaanite Goliath, are well documented, called Cimbri. I'll spell that, Cimbri. Yahweh destroyed the Amorites and the Anakim hybrids, whose height was like the height of cedar trees, and who were mighty as oaks. You get that in Amos 2:9, which he drove out, and he used swarms of giant hornets to kill them. This is in 1400 BC. You get details in Joshua 11:6 and 17:5. The sons of God, or hybrid Anunnaki giants, Qumran 4Q201, fragment 1, COL3, equals also in Enoch in Aramaic, and led by the king of Tyre, Ezekiel 28:1. For example, that's Satan. They have the spirit that lives forever until Yahweh's day of reckoning. Yahweh promises death by his hand. These rebel hybrid bands evidently spread their violent Rephaim and Rephaim pagan bloodline culture with lies of pantheism by, which is referred to in Daniel, the mute abomination. The Illuminati secret societies are promoting dual worship of the Son of God with Yahweh. I've given you reports on that. The blood sacrifice and idolatry achieved as the Anu gods leaked out. Yahweh's secret knowledge of sorcery, which is in the Kabbalah, potions, warring and weapons. Governments are misled by lies, bogus religious info, and fake science, owning the media, giving all this to the public, which is just completely confusing the people. And they wanted to be God, ultimately with their global rule, using, of course, the New World Order, United Nations and NATO. They now use HAARP and chemtrails, which I've given you details on, the frequency of Tesla's man-made technology weapons causing climate change, and of course, as you now know, they're substituting Noahide laws denying the identity of the Creator God Yahweh and the creation memorial day of the seventh-day Sabbath. Now, in chart 4, the world today is in the grips of this violent cultural domination aided by the mass media, which the oligarchy control, medical profession, and Darwinism and evolution lies. The internet and the mobile phone technology is helping this, the lies. A surge in confrontation, murder, crime, gang stalking, flash mobbing, mind control, perverted justice, misled, deceived leaders, and corrupted social institution is arising. But this is exactly as Yahweh foretold in the end times. The institution of the Noahide laws into the New World Order, which the US Congress has already accepted, denies Yahweh, the living Creator God, and his 10 Commandment law. Now, the lies that they have spread, they're so well woven into the social fabric. For instance, in Malta, the last stronghold of the legendary giants of Europe, has ruins of temples of huge megalithic stones. Locals believe it to be the work of giants, that lived there. The temple site on Malta's neighbouring island of Gozo bears witness to these ancient legends of giants. Now, after the global flood, giant skeletons have been found all over the world. In Avalon, North America, 1929. Megalithic ruins abound, mostly absent from history books and the Hebrew text, and global legends abound with tales about these mighty giants. See the Qumran 4Q201 fragment. The Anakim hybrid bloodline made hybrid animal experiments in an effort to usurp Yahweh God's power, the Creator God. They wanted to show that they could mess up Yahweh's pure created creatures, and that resulted in infertile dinosaurs, which were mutants. We know there are mutants because not one baby dinosaur has been found. And if you Google a research on this of the Colossus of Rhodes and the British Museum, Cimmerian, Cimbri of Jutland, Celtic, Druid, Italian, French, Greek, Roman, Phoenician, Central Asian, and the American giants with despotic, evil behavioural traits. Now, on chart 5, unfortunately, Israel people continued to crossbreed, despite Yahweh's numerous firm instructions to them not to. Yahweh said, "Do not mix with the nations around you," but they did not listen. And this is recorded in Judges 3:6, approximately 1380 BC. This made Yahweh the Creator God very angry. Their entire genealogy abounds with the crossing of human flesh with hybrids out of the Nephilim-Anakim, Anunnaki, or Rephaim, which are part angel beings. Israel was meant to be Yahweh's heritage, a light to the world, an example of how to preserve life, protect families, be of pure flesh, obey the Ten Commandments and Yahweh's decrees, practice healthy living. But they did not listen. Therefore, their history abounds with murder, idolatry, sacrificing their sons and daughters to demons, war, evil, sodomy, wickedness, and all these are abomination to Yahweh. Yahweh, please, who of the pagans have you got has told anything in advance that we may know beforehand, that we may say he was right? Isaiah 41:26. They took no notice, their leaders especially, and the world was led into deception, slavery, and exiles because of the counterfeiting of everything, including the food chain, using genetic manipulation. For over 3,000 years, all of the kings of Samaria and Judah, you will see on the chart, only 6 were faithful to Yahweh, keeping his commandments, and he said that he will select a new group that will retain the name Israel in the last days. Now on this chart, you've got the timeline of the kings of Israel and the kings of Judah. But in particular, you'll see that there's only 6 names that are in blue on the bottom line that kept the commandments of Yahweh God. Not one of the others was loyal to, faithful to, or kept the commandments of Yahweh, the Creator God. Now on chart 6, as you've seen so far, Yahweh tried to eradicate the corrupt flesh, and one thing that he was adamant about, that is for Israel and Judah, not to cross over their children, their sons, with the nations around them, because all of the nations around them were corrupted through the bloodline of the Anakim and the Nephilim. Now you read here, it says, for instance, about 800 BC, Israel came among them, crossed over the Calneh, that's in Amos 6:1, and Calneh, being in Shinar, and was one of the cities in Babylon built by Ham's grandson Nimrod, and it was occupied with hybrid Anakim human beings. You'll get that in Genesis 11:1-9. Yahweh, the living creator God of the heavens and the earth, tried to eradicate all of this hybrid flesh by a global flood. And when it became evident that more descendants came through the children of Ham and Japheth Yahweh slew their giant hybrid offspring by using swarms of hornets, famine, plague, and the sword. Tells you that in Joshua 15:13. And Yahweh decreed a shortened lifespan for mankind because the DNA had been so corrupted. Now I'm putting this chart up again for you. You've already seen it, about Noah and his three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now you can come back to this in your own time and you can read it in your own time. And the names are under each one of his sons of the people who started the various countries, and you can compare that back to the world map that I've given to you on this report. Now this is chart 7, but realize that Yahweh has desperately warned and warned and warned his chosen people not to have any relationships with the nations around them. He did not want Israel or Judah to have any of the hybrid bloodline that came out of Genesis 6 and the Anakim. It tells you here, Yahweh's heritage corrupted, it comes to an end. Owing to the crossbreeding and despoiling of human genes, Yahweh said to the prophet, and this is 780 BC, and a lot of people think that Israel today is still Israel. I'm sorry, read this with me. The end has come for my people Israel. I will no longer continue to forbear them. Amos 4:2. It's 50 years later, approximately, Yahweh causes them to be taken captive to Assyria, 721 BC. It's approximately 200 years later again that the rest of them, the remainder, in 586 BC, are exiled out to Babylon. And it will tell you in Ezekiel 39:23-24, it was because of the wickedness and the evil that the house of Israel and Judah were totally rejected by Yahweh, and that's what he told his prophet Ezekiel. Now on this chart 7, you can see down the bottom there, over the last 2,500 years, with their inclusion of their Talmud and oral law, the Jews still think they are Yahweh's chosen people, and they still think they are under his protection. Now, when they went back to Jerusalem to rebuild the Second Temple, if you read the history books, they were slaughtered. Over 1 million of them were absolutely slaughtered. They have usurped the name Israel, and they've gone back to the land in 1948, and they've called themselves Israel. They are not. That is false. They are fake. Millions have perished in pogroms, inquisitions, and the Holocaust because of the deception which is still taught today by the rabbis and the sages and the commentators in the Tanakh. And there's lots of other reference works that will support this. This is not my opinion. This is from the history books and the old book. Now in chart 8, the corrupt Anakim bloodline. It continues after the flood. So this will give you the details of why it continued. How did this hybrid Nephilim bloodline survive after the flood? It is possible that Ham, father of Canaan, passed the corrupted genes on, as he was wicked and he was under a curse from his father Noah. Or could his mother or his wife been carrying the Anakim hybrid gene? The huge Goliath, Benob, Sippar, Saph, and his brothers, they were all Canaanite giants with physical deformities and evil propensity. Some even practice cannibalism, it is told, in the doctrines. Also, it is likely that another hybrid Anakim gene carrier was on the ark, and we know that Noah was pure flesh. But Japheth's genealogy leads directly to the hybrid Gomerian, Phoenician, Cimmerian, Caucasian, and the Mediterranean giants such as Maximus, Maximilian, and there's a photo here for you to see how that happened. Now in chart 9, which is on your screen now, we're talking about the counterfeit religions and the culture. Because daily we witness disasters, government false flag terror events, with mass media rhetoric to dupe elected members and governments to change laws, authorised all by the Illuminati, this bloodline. The Anakim bloodline despots, taking away people's rights today. Governments are ignoring their nation's constitutions, and they are covertly changing the elected government to a corporation. This is to gain total control by the Illuminati of the people and then to enslave them. There's detention camps all over the world to lock people up. There is civil unrest, plagues, and country after country is experiencing it more each day. The Old Testament, Hittite, Babylonian, Aramaic, and other ancient texts and the Dead Sea Scrolls provide clues to the root of this earthly evil and destruction. It highlights our lifespan reduction from 950 to 120 years, now to 80 years, and it attests to the deviation of the generic fabric which has presented with gigantism. 6 toes, six fingers, and the anti-social violent behaviour, and the effects of our social, economic and political institutions today using a myriad of secret societies all under the Illuminati control. No wonder the Creator God Yahweh, Master of Legions, condemned all this hybrid flesh, this Anakim corrupt hybrid bloodline. These Illuminati, Masons, Fabians, Skull and Bones, etc., they've got control over all of the intelligence agencies such as MI5, Mossad, CIA, FBI. They're all under the control of this Illuminati bloodline. Tens of thousands of complaints have been sent into the media and to the government about the chemtrails and the HAARP, and on their man-made secret weapon to make climate change, but to no avail. And the chemtrails and the HAARP are continually, nearly every day. And I'll show you a clip of the sky and how to identify the HAARP clouds and the chemtrails. Now on chart 10, again we're talking about the Illuminati having a claim that they are the pure blood and will live forever with their Anakim bloodline, the hybrid bloodline. They say that because, you see, a human being has flesh, and the soul of a human being, when it dies, returns to Yahweh. It tells you that in the book. But the soul of an angel can live forever until the day of reckoning by Yahweh. The Illuminati secret society claim I are the pure blood out of Genesis 6, and which they still think their Anakim angel spirit lives forever. And they follow the Solomon line, who they probably would have corrupted because he married 700 alien women outside and against the instructions from Yahweh God. They're steeped in idol worship with its sacrificial practices again. And I gave you a report that Yahweh did not command anybody all the way back to Egypt for sin blood sacrifices. Now Yahweh says the Creator's warnings. Solomon was aided by King Hiram of Sidon, who sent gifts of cedar and helped build the temple. They sent up a replica temple, also Yahweh's temple, and with the corrupt science doctrine of Darwinism and evolution, denying Yahweh as the Creator God by owning or controlling all mainstream media today, the deceptive lying rhetoric and its omissions has led the people today. Today, a false temple stands in the High Court building in Jerusalem. It's full of Masonic symbolism in their architecture, and that's referred to in Ezekiel 8. And when he tunnels through the wall, as instructed by Yahweh, and looks in at the manner of creeping things in that room. And we know that in 780 BC, Israel was worshipping Tammuz, otherwise known as the Assyrian Babylon god Chayun of Saturn. And that's in Ezekiel chapter 8. And Jews today, of course, they named a month in the calendar after Tammuz. You'll get details in Amos 5:25. Now, we're up to chart 11. Almost all the kings, the world kings, and leaders are from the Nephilim hybrid bloodline, and all are related to each other. The iron and the mute abomination in Daniel's prophecy is the Nephilim hybrid bloodline that mingles their seed to corrupt mankind, but does not adhere one to the other, as it tells you in Daniel. And this brings in the time of trouble such as never before in the history of the earth. But they ultimately get destroyed by the hand of Yahweh at the end of days. It'll tell you that in Daniel 2:43, 7:11, and 8:25. The secret societies choose and tutor the most intelligent students out of high school, providing them a scholarship, then bringing them in as members to be pushed into being a puppet government minister under an oath of silence. Now, it's interesting to see here, so far as the United Nations is concerned. This is a quote from Chimnoy. Chimnoy was the person in the United Nations that published this statement. He says, "The United Nations is the chosen instrument of God. The United Nations religion is a combination of the New Age mysticism, pantheism, Aboriginal animism, atheism, communism, socialism, Luciferian occultism, Christian, and there's your Jews, Judaism, Islam, Taoism, Buddhism, and Hinduism." Now, is there any wonder why Yahweh issued a decree to annihilate the Jews? There's another quote here. "No one will enter the New World Order unless he or she makes a pledge to worship Lucifer, Satan, and to take the Luciferian initiation. Secret societies believe today that the Illuminati, secret societies, believe they won't die. They say in their own doctrine, our very existence was created by God, for God, of God. We cannot be destroyed without first destroying the great architect of the universe, which is the definition of impossible." And that's the statement from the Oath and Covenant of the secret societies. Now let's go to chart 12, the secret societies, demon spirits who begin all religions today. Now, it doesn't matter what religion you belong to, if it's not worshipping Yahweh, the Creator God, according to His 10 Commandments, you are in a fake or a false religion that would have been inaugurated by one of these people. The Illuminati, the Knights Templar, Freemasonry, 1717, Druids, the Rosicrucians, founders of the United Nations Agenda 21, which is the Fabian Secret Society. These secret societies inaugurated all of these religious organizations. Mary Baker Eddy for the Christian Science, Unitarianism, Masons, Rutherford and Russell founded the Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormon Church founded by the Mason Joseph Smith, Ellen G. White founded the SDA. The Illuminati ultimate goal is to abolish Christianity, to bring in a new world global religion and overturn all civil governments, which I've given you details to date. They want to abolish private fee simple ownership rights on property and land. They will use the Noahide laws from the Talmud, which will replace the Ten Commandments as the base law for the Westminster system. And don't forget, the Ten Commandments by Yahweh, the Creator God in the Bible, has been the basis of all laws in all courts for hundreds of years. Now, this Noahide law has been accepted by Congress, United Nations, and the West, and both Gnosticism and Kabbalism emerged, including the Talmud oral law out of Babylon by these Jews in 550 BC. Now, something to note here, all founders of all of these different religions, they were given a dream, a vision. Now, note one thing which you've seen so far. Could these dreams or visions be induced by evil, demonic, Anakim spirits? Your answer is yes, of course they could. So let's go to chart 13. Yahweh said, the global flood 2104 BC to eradicate corrupt flesh. These are the words of Yahweh. Thus says Yahweh, who created the heavens and stretched them forth. He created the earth and its produce. Yahweh gave a soul to the people on it and a spirit to those who walk on it. That's in Isaiah 42:5. Israel was never to intermingle their seed with the Nephilim hybrid bloodline, but they did so all the way since 1380 BC. Therefore, because of this corruption, Yahweh says he brought about a global flood to rid the earth of hybrid flesh and the misfit mutant animals, such as dinosaurs, which he did not create. But they were mutants, and not one baby has ever been found. They were by the hand of the Nephilim, the fallen angels. Subsequently, all flesh had corrupted its way on the earth, humankind, animals, birds, reptiles, etc. Yahweh says, I am Yahweh, that is my name. I shall not give my glory to another, or my praise to idols, and before me nothing was created by a God, and nor will there be after me. Isaiah 42:5-8. Yahweh further says, I am your God, the Holy One of Israel. I am your Saviour. It is I, and only I, who wipes away willful sins, Isaiah 43:25. And of course, the Christian Bibles, deleting Yahweh's name out of that and replacing it with Lord, is an ambiguous statement because it appears that it would direct to Jesus. That is the lie, but that is the way they've been able to perpetrate that lie for hundreds and hundreds of years. The Christian and many teachers teach that creation included the Son Jesus, which is part of the aforementioned false doctrine, and that is a lie, because Yahweh makes it quite clear. He and he alone created the earth and the heavens and every living creature. Now let's go to chart 15. More confirmation of what we're talking about. Yahweh instructed the Hebrews, don't mix with the nations around you. And of course they did the opposite, and they intermarried since 1300 BC. The Israel people took the other nations' daughters as wives, and they gave their daughters to the alien nations as sons, including the crossbreeding with Canaanite, Hittite, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. Consequently, from this date, there cannot be any pure tribal lineage of Israel's 12 tribes. And you've got a lot of doctrines running around the world today saying that British Israel is a direct descendant out of David, tribe of Judah, but that is a lie. Their offspring, the Nephilim, Joshua 11:21-22, and Anakim giants, Numbers 13-33, Joshua 11:21, or the long-necked ones, had a gene with the infinity to do evil. They would come to install terror in the land of the living that Yahweh said to the prophet Ezekiel. Critically, this treacherous band of angelic beings was led by the chief angel Samjaza, or Shemazai, the adversary, Satan, as well as the deceptive Azazel of Leviticus 16, that they name the scapegoat. But let me tell you something. I noticed in a lot of the Bibles and the King James Bible, the name Azazel has been omitted. And of course, we're talking more about HARP, the SEW, electromagnetic frequency technology, that was discovered by Nikola Tesla in the late 19th century, and are now, through the Illuminati and all the secret societies, it is all in the hands of the New World Order, United Nations, and NATO, and the New World Order banking cartel oligarchy. Azazel was punished for his treachery by being blindfolded and imprisoned in a pit. He is also referred to as a scapegoat, as I've already said. But there's one thing I put a note there. It should never have been a part of the Jewish Yom Kippur, or Day of Atonement, that it is there today. In chart 16, I will give you a little bit of what it says in the Oath of Agreement covenant between the secret societies and Illuminati. Quote 42. We will always hide the divine truth from them, that we are all one. All religions are under our control, and of this they must never know. Next quote. Their minds will be bound by the beliefs we have established from time immemorial. That's the false religions and corrupted doctrines. But if they ever find out that they are our equal, we will perish. This they must never know. One about the governments there and their quotes. We will establish their governments and establish opposites within. We will own both sides in the government. The Illuminati have 3 degrees, but the second degree are Freemasons. The third degree is a degree of mystery for priests and rabbis and royalty. The Illuminati leader is called a king, and according to a Hebrew resource for the sons of God, they were the Titans, the Nephilim in Hebrew, literally meaning fallen ones. And they were called this because they were the sons of the fallen angels. And as I said before, you get that in the Targum in Johannathan. Now, more about the Merovingians, explicitly stated in Dagobert's Revenge, the biological basis of elitism and the divine right to rule is with these Illuminati that control all governments, the UN and NATO. Now in chart 17, the top half of it you've already got in previous charts, but cast your eyes down to the blue text. The Merovingian dynasty which ruled France and dominated Europe from the 5th to the 8th centuries. Now it was in the 8th century that the Khazars, which were now making up over 80% of present-day Jews, they converted back then to Judaism. That's the Talmud, corrupt Judaism. And they practiced present-day Judaism, calling God by the name Hashem, which just means the name, not Yahweh. But Yahweh says, my people who know me will call me by my name Yahweh. Now, if you were to ask a Jew today, why don't you call your God by his proper name, Yahweh? He will tell you that it's a sin to speak his name. But you will find that the real reason why Jews think that, and they can't speak it, if you go to Jeremiah 44:26, you'll find that Yahweh took his name out of their mouth. Now, charts 18 and 19, and in particular chart 19, when we get to it, here's some more details. It's repeated in many of the other charts that you've got all already. One thing that I want to bring to your attention, the Illuminati, the secret societies, they believe that they live forever. Now, here we are in chart 19, and I'll ask you to pick up the words with me. There's a line in red, and I'll read it out with you. Sealed by blood, our blood, we, the ones who from heaven to earth came. I'm reading a quote from their own dogma. The Anakim Nephilim hybrids have an angel spirit which lives forever until Yahweh's day of reckoning. This is the reason the Illuminati believe that they'll live forever. Now here's a quote from the Illuminati. This is part of their dogma. Quote, for their work they will be rewarded with earthly things. This is talking about the initiates and the newcomers. And they will get great titles, but never will they become immortal like us. We will receive the light and travel the stars. They will never reach the higher realms, for the killing of their own kind will prevent passage to the realm of enlightenment, and this they will never know. Now there you have a quote. You can read it again when you stop the film. There is a quote of what they believe, why they believe it, and that is what is behind the power behind all governments, NATO, military, CIA, UN, New World Order today. Now in chart 20, again, I'll leave it there for you for a moment or two. You can gain all of the references and texts in there and do your own research to make sure that you're happy with the information that I've given to you. It is suffice though to say that angelic or Nephilim-Anakim hybrid line, they have part of them as a spirit from angels, which can live forever. And again, that emphasizes why the Illuminati think they will live forever. But read that when you've got a moment and go through it for more reference material, and you will be very happy to know that I've given you all of the information you need to do this. In chart 21, there's some more information there for you. Most of it, again, we have already covered. But from that bloodline, it's very important that you realize those giants were very, very strong. I mean, you can imagine one of them picking up a car and throwing it across the fence. So if anybody has any doubts as to who lifted up those huge rocks, megalithic rocks, in the Egyptian tombs, in the Egyptian pyramids, or all over the world. And as you will see in this report, they were very fast. One of them actually ran faster than a racehorse. So you've got no doubts now as to who built all of those buildings that people with all sorts of theology that somebody came from outer space, that's all nonsense. That's fake theory. These are the people that have the power and the strength to do that. Going to chart 22, there's a couple of things here that will probably surprise you because it's not been written up in the history books. It wasn't taught to our school kids at school. In AD 742 in Northern Europe, the Merovingian family proceeded over the next 35 years, and they remembered by the history as the Holy Roman Empire. This is talking about Charlemagne. which encompassed at its peak France, Switzerland, Belgium and the Netherlands, half of Italy and Germany, and even the parts of Austria and Spain. Charlemagne's work to unite Europe formed the basis of the modern European culture. And Charlemagne was a powerful, imposing figure, and he stood over 8 feet tall. He was a direct descendant of the bloodline out of Genesis 6 of the Anakim hybrids. And there you have details on him. If you go into Google, you can get a lot more. In AD 1493, Maximilian took the rule over the Holy Roman Empire. Now, he was also a throwback to the ancient Anakim hybrid bloodline, a giant from the Gomerian Cimbri, who had proved to be such a challenge for the Romans, he wore a badge. Now, read the details there and you will see all about this Gomerian giant called Maximilian. Now, Maximinus, AD 173, from Thracian, Bulgarian shepherds, he stood over 8'6" tall. Now, he was taken up into the army by the Emperor of Rome, Emperor Severus, and was promoted into being a tribune, a senator, and a supreme commander of all the armies. Subsequently, Maximinus eventually became the emperor himself. Now, I'll give you some more details on this next clip. Now, you will note with this fella, Maximinus tried to make a war control all mankind, even the gods themselves. The Illuminati have the same traits today. Now, history proves all hybrid Anakim hybrid bloodline, they display a dark side like Maximinus's. He had a beastly nature. He marked by control of paranoia and fits of fury. He ransacked the Roman treasury of the people's money, as at the IMF today, and stole from the wealthy of Rome. This despot had essentially made the decision to turn Rome's entire economy towards funding his army. Is that the same as NATO today? Today, identical behaviour is in the IMF, US and global New World government. NATO already has control of 75% of the world's military. Maximinus, like all hybrid Nephilim-Anakim bloodline, believed they were superior over all, including the gods. And similarly, today, the global New World Order oligarchy deny the existence of the living God, the living creator God, Yahweh. Maximinus used all of the Roman funds for war, turning Rome itself into a war machine. And as I said, this is identical to what's happening with the IMF, the UN, NATO, US today. And this is foretold in Daniel 7, 23 to 27, and Daniel 12. And it's the mute abomination in Daniel, brings in the time of trouble such as never was on this earth before. And that's in Jeremiah 30, verse 7. But there's some good hope here. Yahweh intervenes with the Gog and Magog war, and he destroys them all. You will get details of that in Ezekiel 38 and 39. Now, with that, I'll wind up this report. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you got all the reference material, and you do your own research, and you realize what we are up against in this world today. To have peace and quiet, it is impossible until Yahweh, the Creator God, intervenes and puts a stop to it.